I think they charged me for the appraisal. In that case, I was trying to remember, it was with the same bank. Had the mortgage and the HELOC with the same bank. They did charge me for the appraisal. I think any HELOC, any company that you're gonna go with the HELOC, they'll probably charge you for the appraisal. It may be able to come out and put it onto that debt, you know, just charge it as a credit on there. That's a good question about the appraisal. You and they might offer, there might be a special deal. They might say, hey, we've got a special, you know, we'll pay for your appraisal. The cost of doing the application and the, it's been a while, like I said, since I've done it, but the application and the appraisal was only a couple $100. But good question. Yeah. Jose?
So what about going back to Dave's example, what about getting a business line of credit?
Well, see, a business line of credit, I'm gonna cover doing this with rental property and with business line of credits, but just to answer it just real quickly, business line of credit is great. If you can get a business line of credit, you can do the same thing, the same strategy. You can use this. The only thing you gotta be careful about, and Mark Kohler talks about this a little bit in his more advanced class, actually it's in the advanced velocity banking class, they talk about using a business. You just gotta make sure you're separating your business from your personal financing. And Mark Kohler is okay with doing that and separating the interest of the two, but you do have to be a little bit careful. Ideally, you're gonna use your business line of credit with your rental properties. And I'm gonna show you examples of how you can use this with rental
Right, I mean,
properties.
that's why I was thinking about
That's later, yeah.
the subject to one. Okay.
If you don't know about a subject to acquisition, again, that's a strategy that we teach. And basically, you're getting the property deeded over, and you're signing a contract to make all their mortgage payments, but you're not on the mortgage. They remain on the mortgage, you have the house, you have it deeded over to you, you're making mortgage payments. We go into how to handle the due on sale clause, we go into all that, it's an 8-hour training, but that's, if you're not sure what subject to is, it's short for subject to existing financing, would be the whole strategy. Okay, everybody understand the concept? We want to get a line of credit. We want to, since they won't give me credit for my average daily balance, I'm going to do a strategy that gives me credit for my average daily balance in my checking and credit and checking and savings account. Okay, now what's the result? Let's see. So now you're paying amortized interest on only 190,000 or 290,000. I always want to knock off that one. It's on a but it's instead of 300,000, and now you're paying only $5,000 of actual interest on, but you borrowed $10,000 because you're leveraging that using your average daily balance, okay? Now, again, the line of credit, just to be so you kind of clear in your mind, you've got a line of credit here, you've got your checking account, basically it's the same thing, all right? You're gonna use it the same way, your money is gonna come in through, let's say, your job, it could go to the checking account, or it could go to your line of credit. And you want to put as much money into this to cancel this out. You're going to pay bills. It's going to be used just like you normally would be thinking of your credit card or checking account. Think of your line of credit that way. Okay, so here there could be some differences. Here's some possible differences. That's how they're like. Here's a possible difference. Money can go in and out without limitations. This is a checking account. No limitations, money going in and out. Only thing over here I say, money can go in with limits sometimes, and sometimes out sometimes with restrictions. So sometimes it can go in and out with restrictions. You just gotta know your HELOC. Don't assume it has no restrictions. Find that out. Okay. You can use it to purchase anything, obviously, in your checking account, and your HELOC. It might be limited to what types of purchases. Remember my question about can I use it to go through the drive-through at McDonald's? Do you want to check that? You want to get one that has unlimited use for that. No restrictions on how many transactions per month. Obviously, that's true of your checking account. And it may or may not be true of your HELOC. You've got to check on that. You can use the debit card or checks. You can do that with your checking account. Normally, you can use a debit card or checks for your HELOC. You want to get one that has both. It earns, here's a big difference though, okay? It earns little to no interest in your checking account. This one, it can be used to cancel out your debt, okay? So that's huge. You can use and leverage that to cancel out interest, okay? Okay, so how are we going to use that? We're going to transfer amortized debt to simple interest debt, which would be like a credit card or a equity line of credit, chunking or transfer it. We're going to reduce the effective interest rate by, again, our average daily balance, we're gonna do that, and then we're going to repeat. We're gonna keep repeating that process, okay? That's the whole eating the elephant one bite at a time. We're gonna keep taking a bite, a bite, a bite, okay? So if you look at this visually, I'm kind of a visual guy, so you start out, in this example, the HELOC's at 7%, you got no balance, you just started out with a HELOC. You got a HELOC with no balance right now, it's a brand new HELOC, and you've got that mortgage, and you're gonna combine those two, and in this case, you're gonna combine it, and what if you put $15,000 balance on that HELOC? Now it reduces to $285,000. That 15, just to give you an impact of what that would have, is a $15,000 principal payment. You just saved $66,000 in future interest through the life of that 30-year loan. So think about that. By making one payment of $15,000 of principal, you now, if you stayed in that house and you made all your rest of your mortgage payments right on time, as scheduled, the rest of your mortgage payments, you now saved $66,000 with that $15,000 one-time principal payment. Yeah.
So it's like every year I should pay extra 15,000 into the.
Well, it doesn't have to be every year, it's whatever you can afford. So if you can do, the thing is, let's say you're doing it with a home equity line of credit. You do a $15,000 payment, and then you'd work that $15,000 loan line of credit down to zero or close to zero. Then you'd make another, let's say, $15,000 payment. Then you'd think about, this is one payment, maybe you make another one, you're saving another. Now, it won't be as much because it'll be over time, so it'll be, the amortization schedule would have sped up, so you saved a lot of interest. The next time you put a $15,000 payment on it, it might save you $50,000 in future interest. Okay, the next time it might be, different. So the idea is we're taking it in chunks. We're taking this line of credit and we're gonna use, let's say, 15. We're gonna move that debt over to the amortized debt, and then we're gonna work on this $15,000. See how much more focused that is? I'm not working on a $300,000 debt now. This is much more motivational and much more obtainable and trackable. Boom, I got 15 and I'm down to, let's say 2,000, and boom, now I'm gonna make another payment, and boom, put that on my mortgage, reduce that mortgage, all that future interest, and then do it again, okay? So it could be every year. It could be more recent, if you can, the more. I don't want to talk much about this, but if you're interested, you can talk to me afterwards. I have a software program that actually calculates exactly the day and the amount that you should do it and tracks all your finances. But it's not cheap, but it's a good program that I've used. So that will tell you when to do it, but just on your own, you're working that 15 down, and when it gets down low, boom, you do another one. And that could be a year for some people. Some people might take 2 years to get that down. Question there, and then, we'll get it? Oh, okay.
And I was just gonna say that, back to that chunking, all your payment and your paychecks and all your income coming in is going right back to that HELOC.
Right, to your line of credit, right. And
So
that's
how
what,
you work
yep,
it down.
exactly. And even though you're borrowing 15,000 and you put 15,000 on the debt, you're probably only gonna pay interest on like 10,000, because you're probably gonna, your average day balance is gonna offset that interest. Because remember, that's where they're gonna calculate it based on your average daily balance. So even though you start out the month owing 15, if you start putting your credit card payments or your salary checks into there, all the income you get, boom, 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 it goes down. If you have, I'm going to show you when you have rental property and you start putting that income down there, it really gives you a nice high average daily balance.
Yeah, how would that apply to the mortgage company itself? Because say if you got, most companies, everything you put in goes toward the interest first before it starts attacking the principal. If you're putting $15,000 in there, would you need to contact them?
Yes,
To
good
make
point.
them aware?
Great point, absolutely.
That you want that to go there?
Absolutely, absolutely. So what I would do is, when you're using the strategy, I would make my regular payment during, let's say on the 1st, and then let's say on the 2nd, and a separate payment altogether, okay? And you would write on there, principal payment only, circle, big letters, all right? Circle it, whatever you gotta do on that. I would write a note with that. And in some cases, if you're sending in the slip down at the bottom, they have a place for you to write in how much is principal, how much is interest, and how much, So you can do that also right on that slip. I would do it on the slip. If you don't have a slip, I would write it in a note. I would do that, and then I would then follow up, because sometimes it still doesn't go online and look and make sure that's been reduced. And if it hasn't, you've got a copy of the cash check that says it right on the check. Yeah, was it?
If you're doing it online, it has the same thing.
Yeah,
You can
online too.
click on the principal, and because that's what I'm doing.
And
so,
how much, yeah. how
Yeah,
much, yeah.
and so I.
Yeah,
that way I can
but
check.
it's a great point, that don't assume, whatever you do, just
Right.
don't send that in like you
Right.
do all your monthly payments.
they don't put- they
It's
don't
gotta
put
be
on to
flagged,
interest.
and I would always do a regular payment, so there'd be like no question, it's like, wait a minute, if I ever went to quarter, I had to prove myself, it'd be like, listen, on the first, I made the regular payment, now this is a $15,000 payment. You know it wasn't the regular payment because you got that on the first, so this is obviously a different payment, right? So anyway, but yeah, you wanna cover yourself, because they wanna put it towards interest, so, or future payments, oh yeah, we'll let you pay up, because they wanna keep charging you that interest. No, principal only, yeah. Okay, let's keep going here. So this is again, another visual, you've got the mortgage, you've got your HELOC here. You're going to then transfer $15,000 from here over to your debt, so that's what reduced it there, right? So your HELOC, now $15,000 went to here, you wrote a check from your HELOC, or online you did it, 15,000, that reduced that, and this is up to 15,000. Now you're gonna put your income, that saved the $66,000 in future interest. It eliminated 45 payments, so you just cut off 45 payments from, you're gonna make on your house. That's nice. One with $15,000 up front, okay? Then you're gonna take your paycheck of $5,000 and you're gonna put that into your line of credit. So it reduced, even though your line of credit, you borrowed 15, but you're only paying interest on 10, because you're gonna keep putting in your paychecks into there, all your income into there. Okay? Now I'm gonna go back, any question on this before I go to the next slide? Okay, so that's again, visual, I'm a very visual guy, I like to see it again and again and again. Hopefully that helps you with that strategy. Okay, now, we're gonna talk about it with rental property and paying those off, and LLCs and whatever. So, I got this picture online, I thought, well, that's me, and I'm like, that's me. Like, oh no, it's missing something. Oh, there we go. All right. Now I gotta put glasses on it. That was before I had glasses. Now I gotta put glasses on that picture. Okay, so here's, and this is business, and listen, the Mark Kohler, I cannot emphasize that enough. Mark Kohler, you have to be here on March 16th. Don't rob yourself of that opportunity. You will waste thousands of dollars in taxes if you don't. Come there. He's also going to talk about setting up your business. I have an S Corp and I have LLCs. And he's going to talk about why you do it and how you set that up. So the LLCs is what owns my rental properties. And then I also have an S Corp here. And this is the Renatus program. This is I'm going to talk a little bit about the end about the education program. We have a company then that we refer people in. That's the Renatus program. That would be an example of my S Corp. I have my rental properties over here, and this is my personal house and home up there as an individual, okay? So, here's one way to do this. And Mark Kohler, I was surprised he was going to approve this, but his firm, he's figured out a way how he can report it on the taxes, that it won't be flagged or anything by the IRS. So what he's doing is he's using a HELOC on your principal property, and then what he's doing is he's using the income from your S Corp, and this would be no problem for me because I move income back and forth between my S Corp all the time. So he's using the income that you're generating through your S Corp to put into that line of credit, boom, 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 that pays it down, bigger chunks, paying your mortgage down. But he's also using the income from your rental properties. But remember, in this case though, it's your net income and your net income, okay? What I mean by that is, let's say this rental property, they rented for, make the math easy, $1,000 a month, and you interest, everything, mortgage payment, whatever, it was $800, then your net is $200, so you'd be putting $200 into there, your net income, $200 net income, $200 net income. That will have a great impact on this, but there's even a better way to do it. So this is one way. Does everybody understand that? You're taking your net income, just like you would if this was a job, right? You're putting, when you get paid, you're putting your net income into your HELOC. When you get paid, you're putting your net income into your HELOC, okay? But here's a better way to do it if you can. And this is kind of what Dave was talking about. This could be a business line of credit or perhaps a HELOC on your rental properties. Now, it's very difficult to get a HELOC on rental property. We talk about on Thursdays at our meeting when you join our team and you're going through the study groups, we do talk about a certain company that does do HELOCs on rental properties, but there's some catches to that. And I won't go into them now, but it's something that we covered. But here's the advantage of doing that. If you can do a HELOC or a business line of credit over here, now we're not worried about putting the net income into there. We can put the gross income into there. Think about that. Now instead of moving $200 into that line of credit for each rental property, we're putting in, well, in this case, I put $1,300 goes in there. Then we can pay out our mortgage, we pay out our maintenance company, any expenses goes out. But think about it, $1,300, boom, reduce that line of credit balance. You get this rental property, $1,500 goes into there, $1,400 goes into there. See what an impact that would have? Now your average daily balance is gonna skyrocket. And that average daily balance, remember, is what's cutting down all that interest, all right? Now, there's even something else that you can do, and we call this interest float. So if you have a credit card attached to this, or you have, no, I shouldn't say attached to this. If you have a separate credit card, let's say a business card, you can make all those payments during the month. So when I just said maybe your mortgage, maybe mortgage might be difficult, but let's say maybe your management company, we need some expenses, we need to pay some repair costs. You pay all of those on a credit card and you float it for 30 days before that credit card's due. So think about it. Now all that income stays in there, driving down your average daily balance for 30 days, and at the end, you write one check to your credit card, don't pay any interest on it, right? Because no matter what your interest rate is on your credit card, if you pay it before the due date, you pay zero interest.
Yeah, exactly.
It's only if you keep a balance.
Exactly.
So that's what we call interest float. You could float this money, basically you're floating the bank's money on that credit card. Once you get it to zero, you can float that bank's credit card of money for almost 30 days and then pay it off. So this, again, you want to keep it in here as long as much as possible. So when you combine that with a credit card, you've got the interest float working for you.
Would there be any advantage in doing a blanket mortgage or wraparound mortgage, or would that be a violation in this scenario? Because I'm thinking from the standpoint of saving interest, if you could have all three properties under one mortgage umbrella, is there an advantage to doing it?
Yeah, there's no real, I mean, depends on your interest rate. If you had 5%,
Right, that's
5%,
what I'm
5%,
saying.
or the whole thing at 5%, it's the same thing. Here's when you do a blanket, what you got to look at, or they call them portfolio loans. What you got to be careful of is the only way that I would do a portfolio loan on my rental properties, if it allowed me to sell off assets individually. Think about it. I've got 25 rental properties, and if they're all over one loan, what if I just want to get rid of one dog, one bad property? I can't unless I pay off all of them, or refinance all of them, okay? So you got to be careful, those blanket loans or umbrellas. Now, some of them will allow you to pay off each asset, each house. You could sell those off individually, and then they recalculate the loan for you. So if you're doing anything with an umbrella loan under more than one property, I would make sure it gives you the ability to sell off the assets or the properties individually. Make sense? So just be careful about that. That would be what I'd be looking into. Okay. All right, so this is where you can really accelerate, and I'm going to give you some examples how exciting this can be. How many people own rental property? Okay, good, a couple of you. Good, okay. I flip properties, and I have rental properties, and my primary thing is, right now I'm not buying a lot more rental properties. I'm not really aggressive in the rental because I'm so focused on flipping properties, but that's not long-term. My long-term strategy is pay off all those rental properties. You have all of them free and clear, okay? So, and then buy more, and then pay those off, and so forth. But anyway, so this strategy works great. Let's see, this is the same thing we're doing here. Oh, I think that slide got duplicated. Oh, no, it's showing it with rents. Okay, yeah, so this was the exact same scenario, but instead of just putting our paycheck in there, we're putting the rents in there, okay? The gross rents to reduce it. So that's an example of if you had a business line of credit, and each one of those, if you had that $300,000 mortgage, you could do it that way. I see people ready to take pictures. Let me know when you're done. Let me know when you're done. All right. Ready? Okay. Okay, so what's some of the potential results with mortgage strategy and Renatus? Renatus is a training company that I'm going to tell you about that will help you buy rental properties or flip properties. Here's one thing I looked at. So we're going to talk about that, but let's say in this scenario, this is a screenshot of that software program I was talking about. What's great about it, it's very motivational. So this is using that strategy that we just talked about. If you had a $200,000 mortgage for 30 years at 6%, if you only had $150 discretionary income to put into it, if you were to use this strategy effectively, and we have what's called the combo pack. If someone got a lifetime education with us, it only costs them $20,000. If we added the $20,000 to their debt, using the strategy, they would still be debt-free. Instead of 30 years, would be 15.1 years by using the strategy. They would save over $114,000 in interest. Now, it even gets more exciting. Let's say this person wanted to get trained by us, so they went through the full training program, and they bought one rental property. And that one rental property had an $80,000 mortgage on it at 6.5%. The rent was $15,000. The taxes are $400 a month, so that's $4,800 in taxes. So what would that result be? Well, in 11, remember the other one was 15.1? Now it went down to 11.2 years, and you'd be debt-free, all paid off. But your home would be paid off, and your rental property would be paid off. So actually, it reduced the amount of time would be paid off because of the positive cash flow of the rental property. So now you got a free and clear rental property, and your home's free and clear, and you did it all in 11.2 years. Now I did it one more time. What if we bought two rental properties, and they both had mortgages there? It goes down to 9.7. So if you were to execute this, and keep in mind, this is including the entire education package that we offer as well. That's 9.7 years. Now, I wish I could tell you if we keep going, pretty soon it gets to 0. Well, it doesn't, okay? Eventually it will flatten out, okay? It won't go down, keep going down to 0. But that just gives you an idea. Why am I excited about real estate investing? Why am I excited about, rental properties, long-term income, and so forth? It's because of the financial impact it can have. Look, it would save you over $300,000 in interest over the course of the 30 years of those three homes that you have. So here's just to give an example, because people keep coming back and they say, well, wait a minute, what if I just had that $150 positive cash flow, discretionary income a month, and I just did it as additional interest payment? That's great. Minimally do that, okay? But here's the effect, and you can run it through an amortization schedule because I did. If you take $150 a month and you add it as additional principal payment only, it will knock that 30-year mortgage down to 18 years. That's outstanding, absolutely great. At least do that, okay? But what if I use this strategy with just $150 discretionary income, no more income, just $150 discretionary deal? What if I actually bought all the education and training that they offer here, plus the software program that I was talking about? They could pay all of this off in 15.1 years with the same amount of income. This is paying all of that off just by using the strategy. So you can see, whoops, I did that accidentally there. You can see it's saving 3 years, but in addition to that, they have the entire program, real estate investing training program, and the software. So I just wanted to give you a little comparison there. Now, I've been talking about the education program, so let me answer, well, first, let me go back, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the training where you can get 8 hours of this and a lot of other things, what's all available to you if you want to take advantage of. Any questions before we leave, whether it's on the rental income, whether it's about these strategies over here with the picture? I know a lot of people were taking pictures of these slides. Any questions before I just give you an introduction? Okay, let me just go to an intro here to what this office is all about, really. So there's a company called Renatus. They're based out of Utah, and that company offers, what they offer is real estate investor education and training program. They're a national company. You can go to the Business Bureau, Better Business Bureau, you'll see that they're an A+ rated company, which is very, very unusual for real estate investing. Okay, real estate investing training companies, Google and search out the other ones. Go to the Better Business Bureau and go to Rich Dad Poor Dad. Go to Than Merrill. Go to some of the big ones. Most of them are anywhere from C- to F rated. Okay, Now, that's not all their fault. They charge a lot of money for their programs, and then people expect it to they expect to be able to sit back and somehow I'm gonna be successful. Their programs cost up to $90,000 for their like top programs and some of those, $90,000. People spend $90,000 and they don't become like overnight wealthy. They're like, I'm complaining to the Better Business Bureau. This is a ripoff because they spent so much money. In fairness to them, that's like if I go to Harvard and I spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on my education, then I become a bum after graduation. Is that Harvard's fault or was it my fault? You know, Harvard gave them the opportunity to do it, but it's no promise. So I'm not slamming the other education companies and that the rating's so low. I think part of it is because people spend so much money they expect not to work and have it work for them. It's not going to do that. Don't go into real estate investing. My advice, don't go to real estate investing without some training and mentorship, because it can be rough out there. We were just talking about it right here. It can be rough out there, all right? So don't do it without education and training, for one thing. And then if you are going to do that, I think that this business model is a little bit better. The company that I chose, it's because of their business model. Remember, I was a teacher. I think this is more educationally sound. So what this company offers are what they call tracks, and they're all online. The other companies have a different business model. They'll fly into an area. Has anybody been to like the Than Marrow free workshop that they offer? I mean, every time they come to town, they're sending me emails and everything else. And I've been doing it, check it out, see what it's all about. So they'll do a free workshop, which is great. Then they'll offer you a weekend workshop, which would be like $300. You know, act now, go to the back of the room, the first 20 people, blah, blah, blah. So they get you all hyped up. You go to this workshop. And the workshop, there's some information there, but most of the workshop is hyping you up to what you really need is this training. And then when you really need is this training. That's how it gets to like 70, 90,000, is you keep having to upgrade your training, you upgrade your training. I didn't like that business model. The other thing, from an educational standpoint, you're at a workshop and you can't record. So you got to absorb all this stuff. It's like drinking out of a fire hose. You know, it just keeps coming at you, and you're trying to absorb all this stuff and learn it and apply it. It's almost impossible for us to learn that way. So they have like 11 boot camps, and you're going to go to 11 boot camps. We say it this way: would you go to the knee surgeon that went to the boot camp training on knee surgery? You don't learn like that. You don't learn in a 3-day boot camp, and all of a sudden I'm a great real estate investor, right? So what I like about this is all online. This is 24/7. This is, I can't sleep at 8 o'clock tonight, so I'm going to watch. Look at that, investing, velocity banking. One of the first ones in this track right here called the Essentials. This is that Mark Kohler. So Mark Kohler that I told you about, $50. Come to this workshop this March 16th, I think we said it was, whatever that Saturday is. Come to that workshop. This is 8 hours of a renowned, nationally renowned attorney. What would 8 hours cost to get a consultation with an attorney for 8 hours? Most of the good ones charge like $400 an hour. 400 times 8, that's $3,200. $3,200, right? Just right there alone. His partner teaches this one. If you're going to be a real estate investor, you better, unless you're filthy rich already, you better know self-directed IRAs. Of the millions, over $1 million that I've raised to do my flips, I'd say 75% of them are self-directed IRAs. So my partners are using their self-directed IRAs. You've got to learn the laws around that, or you could find yourself in jail. Even with good intentions, you may be breaking security laws and not even know it. And there's a lot of them. So you need to make sure that. That's Mark Kohler's business partner, Matt Sorensen. When I say he wrote the book on self-directed IRAs, he literally wrote the book. He's got a book called Handbook on Self-Directed IRAs, and they use it to the company. He trains the companies that administer self-directed IRAs. Most people don't understand self-directed IRAs and 401ks. How many people right now have all the money they need to do all the real estate they want to do? Anybody? Okay, not me either. Okay, I want to do a lot more than my personal resources. The amount of money in U.S. retirement accounts is the biggest one source of wealth in the world. It's estimated that there's about $26 trillion in retirement accounts in the U.S. Of that, now that's not all eligible to self-direct. What I mean by that is if I have a 401k with a current employer, they're not going to let me self-direct that money. Okay, they've already got a relationship with Fidelity or whatever, Merrill Lynch. But if I left that company, all that money is available to self-direct. Or if I started my own IRA individually on my own, that's all available to self-direct. It's estimated that there's about $7 trillion, that's with a T, $7 trillion available to self-direct in the U.S. I don't know about you, that's enough to do my flips. 7 trillion would cover a few flips, wouldn't it? If you know how to get those people above average returns, in my business model, which we'll cover at my property tour, all my projections, we won't do a deal unless I feel very comfortable and they feel comfortable that we can get them 15% annualized return. That's how I'm able to raise that money. They could roll the dice in the stock market on investing in stocks and mutual funds where they don't know the CEO, they don't know necessarily anything about the business, or they can come and invest in a real property in an area where that they can get to know and to evaluate, and they're partners with me. And we project 15%, or they can be lending partners and get a guaranteed 12. So again, can you go to the stock market and say, oh, Mr. Broker, I want to guarantee 12% in the stock market? They're going to laugh. There's no guarantees in the stock market. I can't do that. Well, I do that as a real estate investor. And that's how we train you how to do it. That's how you can get all the money you need to do real estate deals if you can pull that off like we do. There's the credit. We talked about the credit information. There's day one of the credit. There's real estate foundations, real estate marketing. You've got deal of the decade. The instructor of that, Chris Alvin, actually lives in Danville, Illinois. At one time, he owned like 300 houses in Danville. I think there's only like 400 houses in Danville. He owned 300 of them. Real estate red flags, creative acquisitions. He also, oh yeah, I know he does that one. I'm not sure now. He does creative acquisitions, but subject to acquisitions, like we're talking about, controlling a property, getting deeded over the property, no money, no credit. So this is called the essentials, all right? So all of these courses online are 8-hour courses. All of that right there is only $2,000. Remember, getting with the attorneys, probably 20 or 30, what did you say, did the math, was it 3,200? 3,200, 3,200, this whole thing for life, lifetime access, and here's the other thing, it's for 2 people. You can have a learning partner on there, okay? Just this class alone, and Mark Kohler will tell you, if you're not saving $20,000 in your taxes over the next few years, you're not executing his strategies. Because the strategies he's going to give you, you will save that much money in taxes. We have some individuals partnering in this building. One of them made $400,000 one year and paid $25,000 in taxes. The best year I had in corporate America, I made about $300,000, and I paid up $90,000 in taxes. What's not right about this picture? What did he know that I didn't know? Man, if I would have known now, or known then what I know now, 90,000, you don't know what that feels like. That is like, that's my blood, sweat, and tears, and I'm giving you 90,000, right? We had another individual that made about $400,000. He paid like 15,000 in taxes. You know what you get from the IRS when you make 400,000 and you pay 25,000 in taxes? What does the IRS give you?
A thank you note.
It's called an audit. It's a reward. We call it a reward. It's called an audit. And you know what? Everything passed. They passed that audit with flying colors that you can make in this day and age 400,000 and pay 25,000 in taxes legally, ethically. So every year, I know that couple, every year they make, last year they made like 700,000. Every year, if they don't get an audit, they look at each other and say, did we pay too much in taxes? Why aren't